"I'm not used to rejection," she had said, dejectedly, then proceeded to let her mind wander freely through her thousands of lovers. It was meant to make me want her, but instead it made me feel insignificant. Even if I had been interested, what would I have been to her? One grain of sand on the beach, one star in the endless night sky. I had never considered myself vain, but surely I was worth more than that. Didn't I deserve better? "Alice will tell me," Bella said, making me realize I still hadn't spoken a word out loud. "I'll go ask her right now." I held her close. The thought of her talking to Alice about it made me nervous. Knowing her, she'd probably make some ridiculous joke that Bella would take too seriously, and it would make her more self-conscious than she already was. There was no need. Bella was the only one I'd ever wanted. "It's late," I said, internally cursing Rosalie for having brought it up to begin with. Besides, I think Alice stepped out. "It's bad," she said, her heart starting to race. "It's really bad, isn't it?" "Calm down, Bella. You're being absurd." She sounded so distressed. I wondered how far her mind had already taken it. I thought I had made it clear there had never been anyone before her, but she seemed so panicked. "I am?" she asked, her eyes wide and nervous. "Then why won't you tell me?" "Because there's nothing to tell," I said sincerely. "You're blowing this wildly out of proportion." "Which one?" she persisted. I let out a deep sigh. I couldn't believe I was being forced to justify a situation in which nothing had actually happened. Besides, the nothing had been long before I'd ever laid eyes on Bella. Fortunately, I'd started to learn how crazy the emotion of jealousy can make a person. Otherwise, I'd have started to doubt Bella's sanity. "Tanya expressed a little interest," I said, in an overly uninterested tone. I let her know in a very courteous, gentlemanly fashion that I did not return the interest. End of story. If only it could have been, but Bella was persistent. "Tell me something. What does Tanya look like?" "Just like the rest of us. White skin, gold eyes," I said calmly. "And of course extraordinarily beautiful." I could hear the hurt behind her words. She still didn't regard herself as beautiful. No matter the number of times I told her, showed her, how amazing she was. "I suppose, to human eyes," I said. Yes, Tanya was beautiful in her own way, but I had had the advantage of seeing into her mind. It was not nearly as inviting as her outward facade, and that had had a way of marring my image of her. Though I had tried not to hold Tanya or her sister's past against them, it was difficult to see beyond the slaughters of their earlier years. I smiled then, as I stared at the woman who had finally awoken my sleeping heart. It was hard to imagine anyone purer or more selfless. Bella was truly Tanya's opposite in nearly every conceivable way. "You know what, though?" I asked. "What?" she muttered. I leaned closer, laughing lightly at her indignant expression. If it took the rest of forever to prove it to her, I vowed one day she would understand that no one, human or vampire, could ever hold a candle to her. When my mouth found the soft skin at the base of her ears, I whispered, "I prefer brunettes." "She's a blonde. That figures," she sighed, ridiculously still worrying, though I was cherishing her, worshipping her with my lips. "Strawberry blonde. Not at all my type," I assured her, continuing the trail of soft kisses across her cheek and over every inch of her perfect skin I could find. When I reached the base of her neck, I breathed in reverently, smiling as I waited for her to accept my promises. It was fine. She could take her time. I was perfectly happy discovering new ways of showing her. After several minutes, when her blood was racing so fast, her skin actually warming my icy lips, she finally spoke. I loved the way the words came out shaky and breathless. "I guess that's okay then," she said hesitantly, making me smile again in the darkness. I said, softly letting my breath cool her heated skin. "You're quite adorable when you're jealous. It's surprisingly enjoyable." I almost felt guilty for the sour expression my words elicited. "It's late," I whispered, ready to let her drift back into the quiet sanctity of sleep. I hoped now that with so much discussed and resolved, her dreams would be peaceful. Sleep, my Bella. Dream happy dreams. You are the only one who has ever touched my heart. It will always be yours. Sleep, my only love. I could feel her contentment as I began humming softly. She scooted her body against mine, pressing her cheek against my chest with a sigh. She was breathing steadily, and her eyes started to flutter. I let my thoughts wander back to that which I longed for most, to be here, like this, forever. My life, my love, my wife. Would she ever want the same things I did? Would she ever understand the ways in which she would complete me if she'd only say yes? As the hours passed and the light of morning crept in through the window, she began to murmur in her sleep. I traced her cheekbones lightly, then let my fingers run through her silky hair. Talk to me, my love. Mine, she whispered. I smiled. Always, I am yours.